Welcome to Lesson 9-8, Part 2, Surface Area of Prisms. Today we're going to talk about how to find the surface area of rectangular prisms. Alright, so we talked about what a net is. A net is a pattern you can fold to form a 3D figure. So it's kind of like peeling a banana. You take your 3D figure and you peel it downwards. Okay, so we have a square pyramid here. So we have the square base, and then we peeled down each of the triangular sides to form a net. Then if you fold on each of these lines, you can put this together to make a three-dimensional shape. And now the surface area is the sum of all the areas of 3D figures' faces. So the net helps us to find the area of the surface area of the 3D figure by allowing us to pull apart the shapes. So in this case, we took the triangles and found that each of their areas were 12 feet squared and that the area of the square was 9 feet squared. And then if you take each of the areas and add them together, you get 57 feet squared. So, if you're wrapping a present for your friend's birthday and you want to know exactly how much wrapping paper you need, this would be something where you would use the surface area. Okay, you would have to take the box of the present and you would have to break it down into its net and figure out how much paper you would need to cover each of the faces. And then adding that all together would give you the surface area and would allow you to purchase the correct amount of wrapping paper. Right, in this case, we are working with a triangular prism. Mostly we'll work with rectangular prisms, but because we're so good with triangular prisms, we're going to work with that as well. So the first thing we need to do is we need to actually draw the net of this shape. So I know that I have a rectangle, and then off of that rectangle is another rectangle. And then off of that rectangle is one more rectangle. And then of course I have my triangular bases. Now remember, these nets don't have to be perfect. They're just to give you an idea of what you're looking at and what you're working with here. In my case, I'm pretty lucky because I have something that draws the shapes for me. If I were doing this freehand, this would not be as nice. So don't worry if your pictures aren't perfect or if they don't look the greatest. The key part is that you have each of the faces and that you have all the dimensions in the correct place. So here we have to take a look at this triangle. We know that the triangle is 8 inches across for the base. So from here to here is 8. And we know that from the bottom to the top, the height of the triangle is 6 inches. Okay. So then we know that this is 16 inches because it shows us right here. Now, I know it's difficult to want to use the height here. However, you have to remember this is an equilateral triangle, so therefore this side is going to be the same as this side. So this rectangle over here is also going to be 16 by 8, and this one is going to be 16 by 8. So now we have to use our formulas to find the answer. We know that the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height. So we have 1/2 times 8 times 6, and we get 4 times 6, and that gives us 24. So then we know that the area of both triangles, because they have to be parallel and congruent bases, is 24 inches squared and 24 inches squared. Just like we did with composite figures, it's nice to either label your work or number your drawings, or to make sure to write your area in them. Now, for the rectangles, we're lucky because all the rectangles are the same, so I only have to do the math once. I know the area formula is base times height. My base is 16 inches and my height is 8 inches. I can go over to the side, do 16 times 8. 6 times 8 is 48. Carry the 4. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So I have 128 inches squared. All right, so now that I have all these figured out, I need to put them all together. You can kind of look at the surface area as a complex figure. It's like you're taking a 3D figure and peeling it apart and making it a flat, complex figure. So now you have to take all these areas and add them together. So I have to take 128 plus 128 plus 128 plus 24 plus 24. Now I'm going to go ahead and go over to the side. I know that because I'm doing repeated addition that I can use multiplication. So I'm just going to do 128 times 3. 8 times 3 gives me 24. Carry the 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3. So I have 384 inches. And now I need to take that 384 inches. Those are my rectangles. And I need to add the 48 inches from the triangles because I know that 24 plus 24 will give me 48. 4 plus 8 is 12. Carry the 1. 8 plus 4 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. Carry the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. I know that the surface area of this shape is 432 inches squared. Okay, so now I know in your notes you had that example, and the next example you have is the rectangular prism that looks like this. I would like you to pause, try it on your own, and when you come back, we'll go over your answer. Make sure to draw your net. I gave you a lot of space on here to draw your net and to put your dimensions in the right place. Okay, if you're not sure about your dimensions, you can always try drawing out the net, placing your dimensions, and then coming back to the video. All right, so if we split this into our net, I know that I have a base of 12 by 5. So here's my 12 and here's my 5. And I'm actually going to put the 12 in here to remind me. And then now this is where things get tricky because if I fold down, so I actually turned this, if you can see that I kind of took this figure and I did this with it. Okay, so now here my sides fold down and it's 5 by 2. Now you have to remember when you're putting together any type of cardboard box or a gift box or anything like that, you want all the sides when they fold up, you want them all to meet at the same spot. So all these sides that you're folding upwards all have to be 2 inches. So right here would be 2 inches, here would be 2 inches, and here would be 2 inches. Another way to look at this, look at all of your faces and figure out the dimensions. So you know you have 12 by 5 and you know you have to have 2 of those. You have 5 by 2 and you know you have to have 2 of those. And then you have 12 by 2 and you know you have to have 2 of those. Whatever works for you as long as you can find the correct surface area. Right, so now I know that in order to find the surface area, I need to do the multiplication. So in this case, this one is going to be 12 times 5, which gives me 60. This one is 12 times 2, which gives me 24. Again, 12 times 5, which is going to give me 60. 12 times 2, which is going to give me 24. And then 5 times 2, because remember, if this is 5, then this has to be 5. 5 times 2, which gives me 10. And 5 times 2, which gives me 10. When we're working with prisms, especially rectangular prisms, you know that there's always going to be a match. So right here, side C has E as a match. B and D are matches, and A and F are matches. So now in this case, you have 60 plus 60 plus 24 plus 24 plus 10 plus 10. I know 60 and 60 gives me 120. 24 plus 24 gives me 48. 10 plus 10 gives me 20. 120 plus 48 is going to give me 168. Plus 20 is going to give me 188. So my answer is 188 square inches. Okay, so I know now that you have a couple of problems that you are going to be doing in your notes. Make sure, like I said before, make sure that you are drawing all of your nets that's going to help you. In this case, you have one triangular prism, and I will even help you out. This right here is your height, and this is your base. Okay, and then there's a tricky part here because this rectangle that you see right here, so I'll highlight it in a different color. This big one right here, you have to remember their sides are all different, okay? And they don't give you this measurement right here. So for this measurement, we are going to use 7.5 inches. Okay, so you have 7.5 inches. This is still 8 inches. Okay, so your rectangles are actually going to be, a couple of them are going to be different sizes. Okay, so this is the case where you don't have matching parts because it's a triangle and it has 3 different sizes. It's a scalene triangle, so all the sides are 3 different sizes. Do your best to make sure to draw the net and put the correct dimensions in. Again, this will be number 1 in your notes. So here's number 1, and here is number 2. Do your best, and if you have any questions, make sure to write them down or post them on Edmodo so we can go over them in class.